Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Energetics Podcast. I am your host, Kara Bunde-Dunn. Today, I am thrilled to have a truly inspiring guest, Linda Sivertsen. She is the best-selling author, the creator of the Beautiful Writers Podcast, the Beautiful Writers Community, and someone that many of us refer to as the Book Mama. I loved her book, Beautiful Writers, because it served as a guiding light for me, but also for so many other aspiring creatives and authors all around the world. She also has little nuggets of wisdom from powerhouses like Cheryl Strayed, Gabby Bernstein, Elizabeth Gilbert, Maria Shriver, just to name a few of the magic in her book. But Linda is so much more than an acclaimed author with a giant heart. She's a master of energy and intuition. In her work, she shows us how to tap into the deeper frequencies of creativity, harness the power of intuition, and to align ourselves with the energy needed to manifest our greatest work and our most authentic voice. So, welcome to the podcast, Linda. I'm so pumped you're here.
Super good to be here. I love your show. I love
Oh,
it.
thank you. And I love your book. I'm not just saying that, but this really is like, if you ever want to be a writer or want to feel inspired by some of the most powerhouse writers in the world, this is like a book of spirituality and self-help and writing. I mean, it is like everything in one book.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I like to think of it as kind of a blueprint for making big dreams happen. You don't have to be a writer, but obviously I interviewed the writers, but I think anybody with a dream can relate.
Yes, that's such a well said way to do it. So I wanted to ask you so many things. So in the book, you talk about this a lot too, but how to trust the creative process. And for me, when my spiritual gifts really awakened, it came in the form of downloads.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
I thought maybe you could talk about that a little, like how downloads show up for you, how they come, how you get those
Yeah.
divine hits of inspiration.
Oh my gosh. Well, I never thought I was smart in high school. I felt kind of like I was in the bottom third of my high school graduating class, and it was like plastered on posters, all around like the rankings. And so I just always felt like I was the fun, spiritual athlete girl. And I had always wanted to be an author, but I didn't really take it seriously. And then one day I had a dream, and the dream was super specific. It's what I think chapter 4 of the book is dream downloading or something like that. And it just came to me. 6 books came to me at 3 in the morning, and I saw them. I saw a format, I saw titles. It was as if I was literally taking dictation from the gods. I don't know. It was the most magical thing that had ever happened to me. And I knew to trust it
Yeah.
because I had had one other vision that had been so miraculous for my life. It had been like 5 years prior, and I had just married a stranger. Basically, I met this guy. Um, we were married within 8 weeks, and he basically was like, get a mother effing job. I mean, he was just like, we were in love, but he was practical and I was not. And so I walked into Beverly Hills. I was walking by these gorgeous mansions, and I was like, please God, like what am I qualified to do? I had quit college with 3 classes left. I was like, please tell me what I'm supposed to do. And I had a waking vision, and I saw that I was a dog walker to the stars, and I saw that I was like taking care of these lonely animals that were in these mansions that I was walking by. And I thought, well, that doesn't even make sense. Like, of course they're not lonely. They've got maids and nannies, but truth be told, you never saw anybody on the street. Like, it was so quiet. It was almost like a ghost town. And it was as if, behind the big gates, I suppose life was happening. But I also figured that these people were at Paramount, and they were at Sony, and they were gone all day. And I really felt the loneliness of those dogs. So I trusted it. I started a dog walking business. It was wildly successful. I had like Kirk Douglas and Kiefer Sutherland and Catherine Oxenberg's dogs and cats. And so I knew to trust. When I had the dream, I was like,
That's right.
well, it worked out really well with the dog walking business. So I think I'm going to trust it. So I started interviewing my clients at first, like the most charmed individuals, about how they had succeeded. And everything the dream told me to do worked. I mean, other than the fact that I wasn't on Oprah in 9 months like I thought I would be. I mean, I was so grandiose. But that's the beauty, I think, when you do have a vision, whether it's a
Yes.
waking vision like my first one or whether it's a dream like my second one, when you follow it, and I don't mean to follow it blindly, but when you follow it with faith and enthusiasm, which I can't help, um, boy, magic happens and it happens fast. So I got
Yeah,
used to it.
I always say like it can take as long as it takes, but it also can change in an instant. It can also happen in an instant, you know?
Oh yeah, the book took forever. The book took years.
Yes.
So I was
Like how long
totally
did it take
wrong.
though? Wasn't it like 6 years?
It
How
was
long
like
did this?
6 years. It
Yeah.
was like between idea and book tour. I mean, it took
Yeah.
a while, and I was so in denial about that the whole time, which I think makes for a funny storyline because, right, we have our dreams and then life has plans, but everything makes sense in hindsight.
Yes, that's so true. So I'm really curious because I work through this all the time too. Like you're a powerhouse businesswoman and you're like deeply spiritual. And I think
Yeah,
that is so
thank you.
badass. Yeah, I freaking love it. So how do you balance that? How do you balance like this masculine energy and feminine
Yeah.
energy? And how do you
Oh
bring
wow.
both to the table?
God, that's such a good question. I get guidance from really smart people because I think early on, I always had a business sense. My dad was a really smart businessman. He was a stockbroker. And I used to go to his business meetings with him when I was a kid. So I was always obsessed with business. I always worked like through high school and even elementary school. I was always like, "Can I be your maid?" To the neighbors. So I would dog walk. I would maid, whatever it was. I always loved making my own money. I always had a sense that money was precarious. I mean, obviously all of us have that sense growing up because our grandparents went through the Great Depression, but I just knew that I was always going to have to depend on myself. And it didn't
Mm,
matter if I married, it didn't matter what happened. And Maria Shriver actually really echoed that for me because when I was in college, I remember she came out with a book like The 10 Things I Wish I'd Known or something. And it was a big book for graduates at the time. And one of the tenets in there was make your own money. It doesn't matter if you're married to a movie star, make your own money. And I took that to heart and I really ran with that. So love business, always love business, learn about business. So I think I'm naturally wired for business. And because I'm a dreamer, because I'm a creative, I can be a bit of a freaking gambler. And when I
same.
first, oh lordy, lordy. So I remember when I first met my now husband, it was like 15 years ago, and I had been divorced for I had been single for a couple of years, and I was doing okay, but it was stressful. I was working around the clock. I was a ghostwriter for people for their bestsellers. So I was pretty much, chained to my desk chair and living on iced tea at night. It was hard. And I had started giving writing retreats, and I had done a couple of them, and they were magical, and I loved them, but they were starting to kind of take over, and I felt like I was working for everybody else's creativity, and I wasn't ever going to be a writer anymore. I felt like I wasn't going to have time for my own books ever again, and so I was about ready to quit. I was about ready to give up this beautiful retreat business in Carmel that I had just built. And it was only like a year and a half old. And I was ready to go, oop, okay, I'm done. And my fiance, now husband, who is a very successful businessman, looked at me and he was like, "Are you out of your mind?" And he goes, "I'm not letting you quit. Like, this is the most miraculous business model I've ever seen. You have so much fun. They love you. What the hell is wrong with you?"
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I guess I'll listen to him. And he was 100% right and not.
Yeah.
Where he was right was that it's not easy to create a business, and if you have created one and it is working, you need to be very mindful of that and very careful of that and to nurture that business. Where he was wrong was that he was coming from, a CFO, CEO mindset, like
Yes.
build it to $1 million a year. That's what he said to me. Build it to $1 million a year. And I'm so glad I trusted my gut, because my gut said, if you have to carry that many people's stories in your body, because
Mm.
it's a psychic process, right? Every
Yeah,
time I'm
I get
right,
that.
Every time I'm writing for somebody or even consulting with them on their book, I'm holding their energy and their
Yes.
vision and their book baby and their dreams and hopes and fears. I'm holding and synthesizing it and processing it and visioning it with them. And that's a lot to hold. And I knew that there was a balance of what I could hold for others and what I could hold for myself. And that if I
Yeah.
tipped it too far in the wrong direction, my head would explode and my heart would break. And I told him as much, and he does not speak in the language of woo. And
Mine doesn't either.
right. And
Total practical business guy.
Oh my God. And basically rolled his eyes and thought I was a nutball. And I didn't worry about that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very careful not to take on the limiting beliefs of somebody else. So on the one hand, his beliefs were very big, like, oh, you're unlimited. You can do this at $1 million a year. But I knew that that was poverty consciousness for my journey.
Yeah. For what your soul wanted.
His bigness was my poverty consciousness. And I had to trust in myself. So it's a balance, in every step that I take, it's always a balance. And I have to be careful, Kara. I lean too easily and too heavily into helping other people's dreams than my own. So it's a constant negotiation.
I feel like you can juggle a lot, or at least my perception of you is that you often have a really full plate.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious, how do you I know.
No, my son is like, Mom, you're insane. But my son, he's got it figured out.
Yeah, he's highly intuitive too. He's many gifts.
He figured it out. He's like, the reason you can do 3 people's jobs is because you're a dragon. So in Chinese astrology, I'm a wood dragon. And he says the wood is the best. The wood dragon is the best. I guess Kamala Harris is a wood dragon.
Oh, love it.
He says it's the best because the wood makes us highly compassionate. Whereas I guess if I was a metal dragon, I wouldn't be as compassionate. So, but the dragon allows you to just fucking conquer. And I don't mean that with ego, because
I don't sense it at all.
I wish I could conquer more, but I do handle a lot. And I'm very proud of myself. I don't know. Like, I'm the girl who did not take school seriously. Like, I loved school. If it was a class that I respected, I kicked ass. If it was environmental engineering or community psychology or that kind of thing, I got A's. But a lot of the time I barely showed up, and I couldn't care less. And so I'm just proud of myself. I'm like, oh my God, I've done this for decades and I'm really good at it. And I love it.
You're like, and I still have energy to give.
Tons.
Do you have times where you need to like recharge your battery, or what does that look like for you? For someone that really has their hand in lots of things, like, what does a recharge look like for you?
It's not a lot. I think I have really pretty healthy habits. So there isn't ever a time where I'm down for the count for a month. I wrote a blog post and I posted on Book Mama last week about, I was very affected, and I'm often very affected by climate and world events because I am an empath. So the back-to-back of the 2 hurricanes, the one in North Carolina, that affected North Carolina so much, and then Florida, was very, very painful for me because I have friends and loved ones and clients who were very affected. So I couldn't focus on editorial stuff. I had clients that I was reading their manuscripts and giving editorial stuff, getting them ready so I can send them to my literary agent connections. And I could not do it. I could not sit down and really make sense of a manuscript that felt so far removed from the urgency of what was happening. I knew, like, a couple of them, I knew they had a lot of work to do. I knew we weren't in urgency. They might have been in urgency because every writer is in their own urgency, but I knew their project wasn't going to get picked up next week anyway. And so I just couldn't focus on it. I spent my time raising money for one of my clients who had a lot of damage in Asheville. I spent my time, blogging and social mediaing about a pound dog that needed rescuing that we got saved. I mean, that was what I needed to do to recharge. I needed to delve into my people. And when I do that, I'm not down very long. And I think also because my daily habits are pretty solid, I get really pretty good sleep nowadays. I wake up with the sun. I go outside. I'm with my horses and dogs and on the mother, the first hour of the day. I might have my trampoline out there and trampoline. I'm certainly putting my feet in the grass. I'm drinking water. I'm just loving on my animals and my husband, and I'm happy. So when I start the day out that way, which is pretty much every day, I feel good. My body feels good. I sleep with a grounding mat,
Oh, you
right?
do? I've
So,
been thinking about trying that.
hell yeah. And I
Do
have for
it?
a
Does it
couple of
work?
years. Oh yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I just don't have inflammation. I don't have pain ever.
Yeah.
Um, my son gave me a PEMF mat that I'm sitting on right now. It's like aqua crystals. I don't know.
Love it.
It's expensive. I think he
No,
spent like
indeed.
$1,200 on it. He gave it to me as a gift a couple of years ago. But so I do those technological things. Look at this. I've got one of these. What are these things
What
called?
is that?
I don't even know what it's called, and I apologize. Hold on. I think there's some
Some
wording on it.
instructional information there.
QI Shield. It's made in Germany.
Oh, nice.
Again, expensive. I think I paid $1,200 for it. So these are not things everyone can do, and they're not things I was able to do for a long time. But there are cheaper versions, right? There are ways
Yes.
to protect yourself from EMFs. Those little things you can put on your computer,
That's
whatever.
right.
I don't know if they work, but I swear they do.
Well, my ear is ringing like hardcore right now, which is like spirit saying yes, yes. So I'm going to go with yes.
I feel hardcore that technology really can help us to protect ourselves from technology.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll say is I don't ingest a lot of chemicals. I try to do almost everything organic. I try to breathe and get really good water. And so physically, I feel like I'm able to do a lot more than most people. I exercise every day because my body is pretty energetic.
Yeah. So it keeps you in a good state. And I'm like, you said this, but I think it's so powerful. It's like, if you can't afford any of those things, go put your feet in the ground and for like 1 minute and just let Mother Earth help you.
And get sunshine, on your eyeballs. Like even if you have to go to work at an office, there may be a way where you can not have sunglasses on for 15 minutes and be out in the sun in the morning. Just get that circadian rhythm energized by the healthy sunshine first thing.
Yeah, that's actually, I did 2 readings this morning before I had my podcast interview with you. And in between, I had a half an hour break and I literally just went outside and I stood in the grass and I cleared my energy and I cut cords from all the readings I was doing. Yeah. And I invited our teams in Spirit to come help us, guide us in this. But it was like, I want to be in the sun. I need to clear this energy. It really does work, truly.
It really does. I know.
Yeah. I love that. That's so great. Okay. So how, in the creative process in particular, how do you tap into source, or how do you get like divine inspiration? Can you work if you don't have it? Do you have a process you follow so that you do? Like, how does it work for you?
Look, everybody has it. Everybody's creative. We're all we're all hooked up to source, whether we believe it or love it or not. So we can't help but be creative. We just have to get out of our own way as much as possible. So for me, I think the number one way is I show up. It's like the muse can find me. She knows where I'm going to be. I'm going to be sitting at my desk every day at a certain point. And when I have something that I'm really working on, like when I was finishing Beautiful Writers, or even starting it took years. But while I was writing Beautiful Writers, I was very like cognizant of my best hours. So everyone knows like kind of when it's the easiest for them to bring through stuff. And I made myself available. So for years, I called it my bed office. I would wake up first thing in the morning. I would just kind of let the dogs know, like, dudes, you're not going out yet, and because I have dogs on my bed, of course. Right.
Yeah.
And it depends on your life season. So when my husband was working, he's retired now, but when he was working, he'd leave at 4 a.m., which was freaking helpful. So he'd leave at 4 a.m. And I would be in the bed office with the sleepy dogs on my bed. And I would get up at 4 a.m. and I would write for a couple of hours undisturbed, right? Apple
Yeah.
by the bed the night before, water by the bed the night before, computer charged, everything ready so that I could literally like get up, pee, brush teeth, get back in bed, type.
Yeah.
But I can't do that now. I could, I suppose, if I was working on another book, I could now. What I would do now, because he's retired and he's home, is if I was on a deadline, I'd be like, gotta go. I'm in another bedroom. I mean, I have that ability, and I've learned not to be a people pleaser like that. You know, if there's times where I don't want to be disturbed, I'm like, gotta go, see you in a bit. Like, I just can't worry about hurt feelings or romance loss. Like, we're not going to lose our romance. Everybody needs to take a chill. But at first you have to negotiate that stuff, right? It's not always easy for the partner of a writer. Being with a writer is hard. We're selfish. We have to be. We're lonely. We have to be, or they're lonely with us. You got to navigate this stuff. But I just set myself up where the muse knows where I'm going to be. And if you just sit your ass down, the ideas will come. And it might take a while.
I believe in that. And I have a process where I do a little, it's quick. Like I don't like to make it more complicated, but I do like a minute or two and I anchor in and I ask my guides and my team in spirit, universe, source energy, like, okay, it is not just me. You have a message and you're going to work through me. So let's co-create. So I just set an intention. Let's co-create magic. What's meant to flow out of me? What does the world need to hear? Whether I'm writing a social post or a blog or I'm working on my book, like doesn't matter. And I just ask them like, let's co-create. My hands are like fiery, tingly. Like, let's just co-create magic. What do we need to say? And I just allow it to come from a higher place. And I don't ever have writer's block. I really don't. Like people, I talk to friends all the time. They're like, I don't know. I can't do it. I sat down. Nothing came through. Da, 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 da. And I truly believe it's because you're allowing yourself to be in contracting energy and you're allowing yourself to live in the fear. And it's like, you have a purpose. You have a greater purpose. Tap into that. And when you tap into that, it'll flow. That's what I think anyway.
100%. And I do it at night too. I give the directive. So I just
download me.
Okay. Yeah. And whatever it is, if it's chapter 3 I need to finish, tell me how. If it's like something for a client, I'll be like, let me know what I need to know. And I wake up with it. I wake up with super clear insight.
Yeah, I do too. Like I shared this with you, but I like anytime I've ever worked on anything, like it's literally a download, the name of my company, what I'm supposed to do. Like I'll just wake up and it's like, there, it's there. And I'm like, okay, you gave that to me and I'm going to trust it. And I think walking in our human bodies and having to live a 3D world on top of being spiritual beings, like I think that's our job, is to be like, be in the energy of accepting the assignment, if you will.
Oh my God. That's the best.
Yeah.
You're so fun.
Oh,
You're so fun. I listened to your interview with Laura Haver.
Oh yeah.
A fellow beautiful writers group gal. And she was so fun. You guys were so good together. It was just a wonderful conversation.
Well, she really believes in play, and that we have to kind of be in that energy of fun. And you have that about you too. You have such a vivacious and fun and joyful energy. It's so contagious, Linda. Your energy is so contagious.
Oh my God. Thank you. My son, again, he told me the other day, he was like, you know why you're fun, Mom? You're a 5. I don't know. I'm a 5 life path for whatever.
Oh, you are. Okay.
And he said 5 is all about fun. I'm a 4 and a 5, and 4 is complicated because 4 is grunt work. Like 4 is structure.
Well, that lines, doesn't it?
And I'm like, both? Story of my life. I'm a total grunt worker who, like, on her hours off from work is out shoveling manure from the horses all the time. Like, I'm never not working. But I am always having fun.
Yeah. Isn't that awesome? Yeah. I am a life path 1 in my numerology, which is like teacher, leader. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to accept the challenge. I am going to learn and I'm going to grow and I'm going to share what I'm learning and growing. Like I'm going to teach from my scars. I'm going to heal my wounds and then I'm going to share what I learned. And I think that's, just part of my assignment. So I'll do that. But I also am married to a 1 and have a 1 child. So look out, world. It can be a little intense in our house from time to time.
God. My husband and I always buy 1 houses. Always. We've been in like 2 or 3 of them. Yeah. Actually, the one we're in right now is a 6, and it's so obvious. It's like so nurturing, so family oriented. Like we've just had the best time in this house. But usually we're in one houses and it's like work, kick ass. And so that's when he was an executive and I was building, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I like 6 houses better.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember what our house itself is, but it is like a hunker down, like create hominess, hunker down. Like it's not meant to be a party house. It's meant to be a come home and recharge house, which is good. Because I do feel like that. Like I retreat to my house from time to time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about this idea of like releasing and surrendering and just like being on your magical path. And you have done that in so many ways where you've said, okay, all right, I know that this is the direction I'm supposed to go, whether I'm supposed to move, you moved to Arizona or you moved to, was it New Mexico? I can't remember.
Well, I was in New Mexico at the beginning of the book.
At the beginning of the book,
my first husband and I we left. Hi, baby. Hi, baby.
Oh, hi, Pep.
My first husband and I left Los Angeles for New Mexico because he was an actor and he was going batshit in LA. He could not handle traffic. He couldn't handle the people, anything. So we left and lived this like incredible sort of Native American inspired living life off the grid in New Mexico.
Yes, off the grid, like off the grid.
Off. But now,
and you that was before. I just want to say this. That was before people did van life or any of that stuff. Like you were way ahead of your time.
Yeah, I raised my son like a little Mowgli, naked in the forest. Yeah,
love it.
30 years ago, 34 years ago. But now we left LA. Like at the beginning of the pandemic we now live in Arizona.
Now you live in Arizona. That's right. Yeah.
Because of the fires, when you have horses,
yes,
and you're evacuating all the time and you're trying to figure like, do I save the horses first or the dogs first? And whichever one you try to save first, you may not save the others. Like the stress of that just was killing me. I could not do it anymore. So we came to Arizona.
So my daughter is obsessed with horses and rides horses. And I know that you feel this way too, but there is something so deep and spiritual when you look into the eyes of a horse.
They're unbelievable.
Like it's insane. It's like they like see through you.
They do. I don't know what it is. I know the Heart Math Institute has mapped the kind of energetic presence of the horse's heart. And it goes out like a human heart. I think the influence is a foot out or something. But
interesting.
With horses, it's something like 10 feet out or something. But it makes sense because every time you're around them or you're riding them, there's a sense of bliss that I cannot explain. And I don't know if it's just their heart energy or the fact that they're so in the moment and they're so present and they force you to be present. It's like even going out there and shoveling horse crap.
Which my daughter makes me do all the time. I'm like, we don't even own this horse, but we just help with chores because she likes it. She likes doing it.
Feel good being out there? Does it feel good?
Yes.
And I also think because I sit my ass down so much of the day, I mean, my eyes are constantly on a manuscript and my butt is constantly in a chair, that I look forward to physical drudgery. Like I just want to get out there and shovel and pick up things, heavy things, and throw things. And I love being outside.
Sadly, she makes me do the dumping. She's like, she kind of likes the shoveling, but then she's like, Mama, will you take this wheelbarrow out? You got to do this part. I was like, well, okay, I'll do
both.
this.
I do both. And look, I feel like
you got some
for a
muscles.
60-year-old woman, I feel like I'm so fit. And that's part of it's because I'm just constantly doing manly man work.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think part of the magic of horses too is like there's no fooling them, right?
No.
It's like they can sense you if you're anxious or if you're not or if you're centered. Right. I always find when I'm out at the stables, like I just recenter myself with them. Like, okay, 100%. You see me, you see right through me. So I'm not going to bring any of that energy to you. You know?
Well, and if you come out there and you're in a bad place, they walk away from you.
Yeah,
if you're riding them and you're afraid, because that happens.
Yes,
I got bucked like I was a rodeo clown last week. I was on. We have a new horse, and I didn't know her very well, and she's a great horse, but she had never had like a belly strap on her, and my husband had
Oh,
put one on, thinking, oh, in
yeah.
case you're on a hill and your saddle slips, we'll just have a belly collar. Well, they also call it a bucking strap. I did not know that until she starts bucking like psych. I mean, it was so crazy. Nobody could believe I stayed on. I was like, I felt like I was in a bar on one of those
Yeah, right.
rodeo things.
Bucking bronco.
I stayed on for like 10 seconds. I was so happy about that. But at any rate, and then she bucked all the way back to the trailer, like because of the bucking strap. But
Yeah.
my point is that I had to get right back on her. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had to not be afraid, because when they sense your fear, they get afraid. It's so
Yeah.
symbolic.
Yeah.
And so I had to be super calm, and she was super calm. We'll never have that problem again. We just won't
Yeah.
use the bucking strap. But it is, you can't fool them.
No, I know. I do bribe them though. I'm like the treat mama out at the
I know.
stable. So I'm
I
also
know.
kind of okay with that. They follow
Yeah.
me
Oh,
everywhere.
me too. Me
They're all
too.
like, we're
Yeah.
grass. So they love peppermints. I don't know if you ever give your horse peppermints. Peppermints,
No.
carrots,
No.
grass, little cat, whatever. They're like
Carrots and
all of it.
apples. Yeah.
Yeah, carrots, apples,
Yeah.
all of it. I'm like,
Yeah.
yep, all of the
Yeah.
things. I
Yeah.
love that. Okay, so that is definitely like one of the signs for my kiddo is like horses, and it's just such a thing. From the day she came out, like she was 2 years old, and she would say, "Mama, I want a horse," and she'd write to Santa and be like, "May I have a horse?" And I was like, "We don't even have horses. I don't know where this is coming from," but I think it's just like
Wow.
deep in her soul, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm
For
really
sure.
curious, like, how do signs or synchronistic moments show up for you? Like, do you get them often?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. I don't even really look for them anymore, because it used to just be so overwhelming that I felt like I was just I don't know. I felt almost like it was so obvious that I didn't even need to look for them anymore. But
Didn't that happen when you were publishing your book? Like, you got a sign of like what publisher? Am I making that up?
no,
Like,
I
did
did. I did. That was cool. That was a really
okay? Will
cool
you tell that
moment.
story?
I don't know that I've ever talked about that before. So you may be, I think you're psychically
N-
picking that up, because I swear
I
I don't think I've talked about it.
I had a little birdie tell me something about you, like saw signs in the clouds or something. Am I making that up?
Go that one. Oh no,
Oh, I don't know.
that
Okay,
was
that means
real.
okay. Just wait. The
That
other
was
one, you have to
real.
tell the other one then, because that means we were meant to talk about both. So now you have to share both.
Would you
Hey,
calm
buddy.
down? My dog's freaking out.
He's like, "Mama, there's energies around us."
Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, well, with this last book, the beautiful writer. So there is a cloud story in here that's
Okay.
unbelievable, that about a publishing thing that happened. But when I went to sell this book, it was a very hard process, because it was COVID. And so I wasn't able to go to New York. I wasn't able to go to meetings with editors and sit face to face and talk about the book and schmooze and feel into it and
Yeah.
see who likes me and see who I want to be with and all of that kind of stuff. So I was taking meetings by Zoom. And honestly, my agent at a certain point kind of got sick, so she wasn't that available for a little while. So it felt like it strung out for a while. And I was really nervous. I felt like there was a publisher that I was vibing with big time, but something felt off. They weren't as environmental as I wanted them to be. When I said
Yeah.
I want the book to be published on FSC paper,
Right.
they weren't enthusiastic, and they were a really big publisher with a really big sort of echo mission. So it didn't make sense. It was like, wait a minute, on the balance sheet, you guys are the most environmental or one of the top. But when I talk about my mission, you don't seem to give two shits. So that was a disconnect. Anyway,
Yeah.
I was very concerned. And so I made an altar. It was just in the living room. I took the living room table, and I just brought out a picture of my dead parents. I brought out an angel, like an angel figurine, a Baccarat angel that Catherine Oxenberg had given me a million years ago, that lived through the LA earthquake. So it seemed to be totally destined.
Yep.
And I brought out like my favorite childhood encyclopedias that are leather bound editions from 1910. I just brought out things that were sacred to me, that reminded me of success in the literary world. I brought out my first couple of books, and I just put all these things that meant something to me, a picture of my grandmother, some crystals, and I put them all on the table. And then I sat down in front of the whole Michigas, and I just said, all right, universe, you know what I want. I want a book that is going to be a masterpiece, and I want it to find its dream team. And I don't know what to do. And I just really need you guys, my dream team here in spirit. I need you guys to handle it. Just please handle it. And I walked away.
Mm-hmm.
And my agent called a couple hours later and said, we have an offer, and it's from a publisher that I don't even think you've ever even heard of, but I really love them and I think you should consider it. And it was Ben Bella. It was this publisher. And we had a conversation scheduled the next week with a top 5 publisher who I'd already talked to, who really loved it and wanted to have another conversation. And I said, all right. So we talked to Ben Bella, and I said, just cancel everything else. I'm going to go with them, because I just trusted the woo-woo-ness of it all.
Yeah.
And I also didn't want to make it too complicated.
Yeah.
I feel
right.
like sometimes we humans make things too complicated.
Totally.
And, oh yeah, it would have been fun to have a bidding war, and it would have been fun to, get the advance really big and to be able to announce that because I'm the book mama. So that would be good for marketing. None of that felt like the right thing to do.
But isn't that why you're the book mama? You know what I mean? Like, because you say this all the time. You're like, okay, even if 12 people want to offer you, you still have choice. You pick, you go where it feels most aligned for
Right.
you. You guide writers to that wisdom all the time.
Oh,
so wouldn't it be powerful for you to act on that same wisdom?
That's a really good point. I think so. I mean, I don't know. Kara, like, this all could be just some big video game crazy joke. Like, I really don't know.
I know. I actually think about that all the time. Like, are we living in the Matrix? What's really going on? I don't know.
Maybe.
But I'm going to go with it. I'm rocking it. I'm on my life path. We're doing the thing.
Well, Van Jones said that to me when I had him on my podcast a couple of years ago with Glennon Doyle. And he said, we might just all be living in a video game. I don't know. And I thought at the time that didn't even make sense. I didn't even know what he was talking about. Now I completely agree with him. But like you said, it doesn't matter. Even if this is the Matrix, even if we are living in a video game and it's all just, we're being controlled, I still want to be happy doing it.
Totally.
And I feel like the way I think and the magic I believe in and the steps that I take every day have me in a pretty blissful little video game then.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to keep doing it that way.
That's how I feel now too. Like I was a former chief sales officer in the corporate world and now doing all of this stuff, and I'm just like, I did learn how to be in that space and be spiritually aligned. I think I had to learn that lesson before I started my own company and did my own thing. Yeah. But I absolutely trust the wisdom that comes from my body. Like, I believe that that's a higher source of voice, that is truth. And so when I'm feeling really anxious or fearful or nervous, I'm like, okay, like for me, that's an exercise in curiosity. Right. Okay, where is this coming from? On? Yeah, what's going on? What am I missing?
I do the same thing. What's going on? Is this mine, or am I feeling somebody else, or am I feeling the planet? That I asked the 3 things. Is this mine? That's the first thing.
Okay, say that again. So is this mine?
Is this mine? And if I hear no, I'm like, okay, is this somebody around me, a client, my family? Is this somebody? No. Okay, is this planetary? Am I feeling? So I'll just, and you can pretty quickly start to discern.
Yes.
And I let myself feel it, whatever the crap is, right? I let myself cry. I let myself be grumpy and angry, not for long, but for a minute. And then it moves through.
Yeah, it's true. Even yesterday, I got on a call with this person that is going to do some healing work with me. And I just started crying. I was like, I don't know where this is coming from. And she's like, where is it coming from? I'm like, okay, yep, you're good for me. Okay.
Yeah,
And,
totally.
it was just really for me continuing to be in feminine flow because I've had so much
Yeah.
of my professional career in very masculine, goal oriented
Right.
sales.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And so just finding that balance back because I do like goals and I do like achieving
Me
things.
too. Me too.
But I feel so much more connected in doing it in a flow state
Yeah.
more now.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you don't have to have habits or you don't have to show up and do the work. I think people think that like, oh,
Right.
I'm in my feminine flow, so therefore I don't need to like have a
Good luck with
structure.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I'm looking here. I'll show you
Yeah,
my daily,
your
like this.
planner.
This was yesterday, right? I didn't
Love
get
it.
it all done, but no, I'm all about writing it down, crossing it off, making it happen for sure. And
Yes.
I'm always trying to be super flexible.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think too. And one of the things I've been doing a lot lately is just like my morning is sacred. It's like
Same.
I have a kiddo, she's 10, so I got mama duties, I got all of that. But it's like, okay, then like how do I ground in? How do I clear? How do I get in nature? How do I allow Mother Earth to heal me? And then how do I like for me, because I do a lot of spiritual readings and work too, it's like how do I clear that? I got to clear other people's stuff. I got to do it every night and every morning.
Same.
Or I'm exhausted.
Same, because my stories, if I'm editing a book for somebody right
Yeah.
now, I'm editing like 4 different books, and
Lord.
one of them is about like these insane sexcapades in the London drug scene. Well, that's intense. Like,
Yes.
another one is about some real wounding from a mother wound. That's intense. Like
Yes.
these things are big energy, and
Yes.
we have to clear them. I used to get afraid, like, oh, I can't put my mind and energy into that project because it'll hurt me. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
I don't limit the universe like that anymore. Now I've learned how to balance it and clear it.
Yeah. See, when I do readings, I'm really careful about like I only work in what's for the highest and best good of the person. And so if there is an energy that wants to come forward and heal something and that it's not for that person, then it won't come forward. But other than that, like that's I trust that whatever comes through is what's meant to come through for them in that way.
Totally.
Okay, so I want to do this I like to do this every time. Rapid fire favorite things, okay? So I do this in every episode, and it's one of my favorite things to do with people.
Love it.
Okay, what is your favorite food, like, or one that you just love?
Oh, I just had it. Apples.
Oh, really? Okay, do you have a type of apple? Are you like, I'm into the...
I like the Fuji.
Organic. Oh, you like Fuji? Yeah. Organic. I like Honey Crisps. Those are my jam.
Good. I love Honey Crisps. Yeah.
And now they have Cosmic Crisps. Have you ever tried those?
No. Oh,
yeah, they're really crunchy and juicy. And I was like, kind of like the vibe of the name. It's kind of fun. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What about your favorite place to travel or where you would love to go? Like no time or money constraints and you have
always
a few weeks.
Oh,
yeah. Is that why do you choose Carmel for your writing retreat location? Because it does look really magical.
Have you never been?
I've been to Carmel before, yes, but I've never been to one of your retreats yet.
Oh, yeah, no, I know that. I think it always was my magic place. I grew up about an hour and a half south of Carmel, and so my parents, they had their honeymoon there, and they used to take my sister and me when we were little. A lot of our happiest memories as a family were there, and my parents, I would watch them walk on the beach. My dad would hold my mom's shoes and she would run in the waves. There was such joy and abundance and love and beauty there. And then also my dad's, one of his best friends owned art galleries, and so I spent a lot of my childhood in Carmel art galleries and just fell in love. My dad loved art. I fell in love with art. So to me, it was very much a place anchored in creative inspiration. And then when my marriage blew up, I was married for 19 years, found out my husband was having an affair, totally blindsided. Like I thought we were never better. I loved our life. I mean, the whole thing was so absolutely devastating for me and my son. And I had just taken on 2 book deadlines, one for myself. My son and I wrote a book called Generation Green. And so that was due with Simon & Schuster. And I was ghostwriting a book for a guy with Hyperion, both very intense deadlines, both high pressure and high stress.
Yeah.
And I knew that I would never finish those deadlines if I didn't go to Carmel. And so my son was great. He was okay. I left. At the time, he was 17. I went and I hunkered down in a hotel room by myself in Carmel. And I feel like it not only saved those book deadlines, it saved my business, but it saved my sanity.
Mm.
And then a couple years later, when I was losing everything because of the divorce, the house was underwater, it was in foreclosure, my son was suicidal, like everything was just an absolute mess. It was the next year, I prayed about it. I was like, what do I do? Like,
Yeah.
what do I do? And I knew that I couldn't work one-on-one anymore as a ghostwriter and do what I needed to do. It was too time intensive. I was too tired and I was too brokenhearted.
Yeah.
And so working with a small group of people felt like the answer. And there were some mystical things that happened that made it really, really obvious. And when I had the first retreat with 5 people, it felt like the house was floating and everybody was so happy. And I was able to pay my mortgage and save the house, and they were able to get book deals. And it just seemed like it was such a win-win.
Yeah.
It was so magical that Carmel then became a place of like, wow, I could come here every 8 weeks. And I did for years. Every 8 weeks for years, I drove from LA to Carmel and met women who flew in from all over the world, and everything healed. Everything, like my heart, my son, my business, my house, my everything healed. And Carmel is now, like, to me, I won't move there. I mean, I shouldn't say never, but I will never live there because it's so magical to me that I don't want to get to know it too well. I don't want to know the politics of it. I don't want my heart to ever be broken about that town, because to me, it is a place of dreams come true.
Yeah. That's so amazing. So how many retreats have you done there?
100.
You think you've done 100?
Maybe 96 or something. Yeah.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
It's so insane. And it's my favorite thing still to do. Like, I get there and I'm so giddy. And the women say the same thing because, the town was formed in 1906, basically after the earthquake in San Francisco, because 5,000 creatives had nowhere to live. And so these artistic painters and musicians and authors moved to Carmel and formed this, like, creativity haven, and you can feel it. You can feel it.
Yeah. And like the shoreline and the rusticness of, I mean, it's so gorgeous too.
It's heaven. I don't even know what to say.
Love that.
I'm
Love
gonna
that.
shut up.
You can talk about it all the time. I'm in for it. I love it. Okay, what is your favorite holiday?
I think Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Thanksgiving. How come? Tell me why.
Just, it's gratitude. Just being grateful, and we're always together as a family. We have so much fun. My husband's daughter is coming with our grandkids, and we're doing a turkey trot, and I can't wait. Like, I can't wait.
I love it. That's amazing. I almost always go to my in-laws, but my parents, they live 6 hours away in Minnesota and I live in Nebraska, but they almost always come there too. It's like, if no one has a place, you don't know. Like, if you have nowhere to go, then it seems there's always a few extra table settings for whoever needs a place to go.
Best.
Yeah.
We're going to have 10, 11, 12. We're going to have 12 dogs in the house the week of Thanksgiving.
12 dogs?
Yeah, because we have 7 and my son has 2, 9, and then Haley's bringing her to 10, 11. So it'll be 11. We'll have 11.
Yeah, but they'll be like so happy, like hanging out together.
It's
like,
the
like,
the best.
Yeah, they'll run in a pack.
It'll be the best.
They'll be like, this is the best ever. Running in a pack.
Totally.
Okay. Do you have a spirit animal that comes to you, or that you spirit totem, or have you done any channeled messages in that way where you get messages from animals?
I have. They're all different. Like, I don't have a totem, but I have, if a coyote crosses my path, or a hawk crosses my path, or an eagle, or there's always the right message at the right time. An elk. We have a lot of wildlife where we live.
Yes.
So we have a lot. So I'm always getting messages, or a praying mantis, or, whatever the thing is of the day. There's always.
Yes. I did. My friend has this heal container she calls Shine, and she just does healing with you and channels goddess energy. And she's just the coolest chick. She lives in England, but she did this meditation for your business's spirit animal. And I was like, oh, I've
Oh,
never done it for my business. That's kind of badass. I'll do it. And I had 3 come through. I'm like, of course, I have 3, not 1. And then
yeah.
I'm like, okay, guys, if this is real, then I need to see them, show me them in some way, shape, or form to validate that these are my business spirit animals. And one of them was a panda bear. And I was like, oh Lord, how the heck am I going to see a panda bear? And literally, like within hours, my daughter normally, like, she's 10. So normally she brushes her own hair and all this stuff, but she was sick. And so her hair was like matted when she came out of the shower. And she's like, Mama, I need you to help me. And so I did. And she sits down. She's like, oh, by the way, I like to play this game where you have to figure out what it is and it reveals itself. I'm like, a fly. Hopefully that doesn't mean something. I have to look up the meaning of a fly.
No, flies are great. Flies
Okay,
are
hello,
great.
fly. Okay, so anyhow, she sits down, and then literally, like within seconds of her sitting down and hours of this meditation, it was like a panda bear that revealed itself on her screen in this game she was playing. And I was like, okay, Spirit, you're funny. Because they're like, you're not going to see a real panda bear because you live in Nebraska. But
Oh
yeah,
my gosh, that's so cool. No,
yeah.
flies are great. That's a sign from Jane Goodall, in my opinion,
Oh, it is?
because she told a story on my podcast, and that she said that I excerpted in Beautiful Writers, where she said one of the most meaningful moments that ever happened to her in nature was that a fly landed on her in Gobi, Africa.
Yeah,
And she said it was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. Like the colors were otherworldly, and it made her think to herself, God, we limit beings by calling them a fly or a tick or whatever it is, a cockroach, but in reality it's a being. And
yeah.
so I think about flies a lot now since she said that, because as a horse owner, we're forever embattled with the flies. Like, oh my God.
The sprays. And when is it going to freeze? Yeah.
Exactly. When will they go away? And I think about them all the time, these
Yeah.
beautiful creatures.
Well, this has only ever happened one time. And I don't know if you know Rebecca Rosen, but she's a pretty powerhouse medium. And she said, I just got out of a reading and they said something would come in the form of a fly. And then a fly like flew. A fly would not leave her alone. And I was like, well, isn't that how that goes? So funny.
Totally. Yeah, because a bird's not going to fly into our session here right now. Like,
No.
what could come in? Nothing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Except a fly.
And then you can tell your Jane Goodall story. So that's how beautiful is that? Yeah. Okay. What is your favorite thing about what you do for a living?
The love.
Oh,
Just the love. I get so much love and I give so much love, and it just feels beautiful.
yeah. It feels very expansive. I love that. Okay. What brings you profound joy?
My son.
And is he now doing astrology? Did I catch that correctly?
Yeah, he's been he's a business guy and he loves business, and he's constantly he's a cutting edge thinker, so he's always dealing with like AI and building school communities and coaching on a really big level, but he is obsessed with the occult. And his aunt is a top Vedic astrologer, and so he was raised with Vedic astrology. And he loves Chinese astrology and numerology, and he studies it. He's OCD, so he's kind of like one of those guys that will rat wheel on something for hours and hours and hours, but it makes for mastery. So he studied that stuff for, I don't know, 5-6 hours a day for years, and so he's just so brilliant at it. And so he started doing readings for people that would ask, and some of them were really, billionaires, and they started making a lot more money doing what he said to do. And just things became so much clearer for them about, like, when he says, oh, of course you and your son butt heads because you're enemy signs. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? But once he explains things to people, it makes life flow a lot easier. And so he hung his shingle just, for friends and family. And so he does it on the side. It's just a passion thing. And he's really good at it.
I love that. Well, you were saying that, I've said this before, but I got to think of who says this, but it was like millionaires think psychics are like, don't believe it. And
billionaires.
Have them on speed dial.
That's our experience. I mean, I can't name names, but holy crap, if you knew the people that he talks to.
That is true for like so many things where it's like, I just don't think it's going to become people's secret weapon. I think it's going to be more like as the veil is thinning and we have this more
Yes.
connection. Like I think it's
Yeah.
going to be less of a mystical thing, I guess, is maybe the
Right.
way I want
More
to say it.
common. It's just more commonplace. I mean,
Yeah.
Reagan, for God's sakes, had an astrologer in the White House.
I mean, NASA, I mean, you name
Kings
it.
and
Like,
queens throughout
yes.
history had them. Yeah. I think they
Yeah.
beheaded them sometimes, but
If they didn't like what they had to
you
say,
got
you're like,
it
well,
wrong. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You're like, that witch wound is real strong in this current lifetime, you know?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How can people follow
So
you
fun.
or connect with you? How can they be in your world?
Bookmama.com, MAMA. I love Instagram. I'm super on Instagram all the time. Linda_Sivertsen, which is like so hard to spell.
Sivertsen.
Sivertsen. Yeah, just Book Mama is the easiest way. I
Love it.
love it.
And you have a
And
beautiful email series that comes out too. So
oh,
nice to get that.
thank you. Well,
Yeah.
and our beautiful writers group, which you're a part of, is so
Yeah.
much fun. So come join us. It's very affordable, and we do write-ins where we write together 3 times a week. It's so fun.
Yeah.
I
Be
love
in
it.
community with amazing people and get
Yeah,
your authentic voice out in the world.
there you go.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Yes.
I love your show. I love your show. It's so fun.
Well, thank you so much. It means the world to me, and I'm so grateful you came.
Oh, bless.